Hello, and welcome to the Metaphysical Universe. This is the podcast where we talk about all things spiritual and metaphysical, where we dive deep into all those juicy topics. So today I want to talk about your energetic health. All right. And I mean this both in your energetic body, your energy body, and in your physical body. Okay. So it is so important to think about the health and well-being of ourselves, body, mind, and spirit, right? And really this impacts us a lot because, we are this energetic being having a human physical experience, right? And when we're not taking care of ourselves, then this really affects our ability to be here, right? To be here in this physical body, because our physical body starts depleting, right? And so, yeah, let's really kind of go into this today. All right. So, firstly, like I said, we are energetic beings, right? We are energetic beings having this human physical experience. And also, we are energy, right? We are energy, whether or not, you look at the physical body, right? You break down the physical body into all of its smallest components, and that's energy, right? Everything is energy. You break down our energetic body. Hello, energetic body is energy, right? Everything is energy. Everything around us is energy. We are energy and everything is energy, right? And our energy fluctuates, right? Our energy fluctuates depending on the things that we experience throughout the day. It fluctuates based on, like our reserves. So like let me put it this way. We have an allotted amount of energy each day. Like we have kind of like a baseline kind of thing, right? And so when we wake up every day, we have like a certain amount of energy. Now, we can add to that energy or we can deplete that energy, and we can do this throughout the day. So there are various things that you may be doing that may be depleting your energy. And there are various things that you may be doing throughout your day that may be building up your energy. And the thing that you really want to do is you want to build up not only your energy throughout the day, but you want to build up like your reserves, like your baseline. You want to build up your baseline. So like I said, you start at a baseline every day. This may be the same baseline every day, or you can start building up that baseline. So you start at a higher level of reserves every single day. So yeah, this is kind of like what you want to do, because the thing is when you don't do this, when your energy, your daily energy starts depleting, then eventually you get to the point where your baseline is depleted, right? Every day, maybe your baseline gets lower and lower and more depleted, which is not a good thing, because so your state of health and wellness exists within certain frequencies. Okay. So, and I'll have to link down below like this list of frequencies essentially. But yeah, so optimum health, of course, is the highest frequency. There are mid frequencies that are at least like I'm carrying along pretty well, and my health and well-being are pretty well. And then there are the low frequencies, which means that you start to get into illness and disease and things like this, because your body, your physical body in particular, cannot sustain at those low frequencies where you're not taking care of yourself. And so it's like, where do we get this energy? Where do we get this energy that's going to help us to take care of ourselves? Right? Well, we get that from source energy. Of course, we can bring that into ourselves too, but that energy is also around us, and we can manifest and create that energy within ourselves too. So these are all things that we could and should be doing. Like think about the food that you eat. All right. Now, a lot of people just focus on like, am I eating, protein and carbs and all those things, right? And yeah, that's nourishment and that is absolutely helping you. But it's not the only thing that you're eating. You're eating vitality, you're eating life force. Now, okay, granted, some people could say, well, if I eat meat, that's life force, right? And yeah, that is life force. But there are a lot of things that get involved in that can cause the depletion of that energy because you're eating that type of life force. I encourage you to eat, lots of fruits and vegetables and things like that because that vitality is really, fresh, right? Especially if you're just getting that right off the plant, right? Like if that thing is just freshly grown right here, right now, you're plucking that piece of fruit like off that bush or that tree or whatever, right? And you're eating that immediately, you can feel the vitality of the food that you're eating. I mean, you can feel the energy that's going into you. Or like, let's say if you're juicing, okay, and that the fruit and vegetables are like freshly picked, right? And you drink and consume that. And boy, you can feel the vitality that you're consuming. But let that juice hang out for a day and it is changed completely. Now, it may still have a lot of the nutrients and things like that in it, but it doesn't have the same vitality in it. And boy, I mean, I can feel it when I'm consuming that. If I've let that juice sit for a half a day or a day, even into the following day, I've lost that vitality in it. Now I'm just getting nutrients. I'm not getting vitality. And so, like, there are other things like, spending time outside in nature, picking up the sun's rays, the breeze against my skin or leaning up against a tree or laying on the earth and feeling the vibrations that are around me and soaking up that energy, right? Because we can do that right through, not only through our skin in our physical body, but through our energetic body. We are picking up all that energy, taking that energy in, and that energy is nourishing us. And so we really need to think about like how we are fueling our bodies through the various forms of energies around us, through even like how we're relating with people and how we're communicating with people can affect our energy too, right? Like, if you're having a what am I trying to say? Conversation, not a communicable, you're communicating, but a conversation with someone, right? And, you're having an energetic interplay with them, right? It's like playing like energetic ball where you're tossing the energy ball to them, they're holding, using, and communicating, right? And sharing their energy, right? And then they're tossing it back to you, right? And so there's this natural give and take in a conversation, right? But think about like those conversations that you've been in where someone is just taking all the energy or someone is just dumping all their energy on you, right? And I've done a previous episode about this specifically, about this interplay. But yeah, like, in a healthy conversation, you're going to feel like uplifted, like in that conversation. And that uplifting feeling means that you are receiving energy. But you also want to make sure that you are in turn uplifting that other person and sharing and giving energy too. That's what a healthy conversation should feel like. You should walk away both feeling uplifted, both feeling good. Now, I'm not saying every conversation has to be like that, but those are the ones that are really going to create like the best type of energy for all people, right? So yeah, yeah. And we need this fuel. So, what else can we do? Exercise. Exercise is another thing that is super important. You've got to move your body. You've got to, get the energy, the vital energy that's within your body moving too, your heart rate moving, and really taking care of your body. And this is one of the things that I have neglected to do in my life. I didn't realize how important it was to take care of my physical body. They say, take care of yourself, body, mind, and spirit. And I lacked in that, and I'm 53 now, almost 54, and I am paying for a lot of the choices that I've made throughout my physical life, um, and not listening to my energetic boundaries, not nourishing myself in the ways that I should have, not creating healthy boundaries for myself in relationships and situations, not realizing that these things were going to impact me. And I think that, this is like, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but like as a female in particular, I really feel like, that there's a pattern to that, that the giving nature of the female. Now, this is a stereotype. Yes. Okay. So I'm not saying that this is 100% true, but all stereotypes have some basis in truth, right? And I fell true to that stereotype where, I felt like I had to, people please and make everybody else happy and not listen to like my own like inner needs of like, what I needed to do to step away from that situation. One of the things that I really felt like I needed to do was, be that person that listened to people, that if somebody was, talking about like their hardships of their day or their thing, and I would be there and I'd be the listener and I'd be the counselor. I'd be the one that was trying to help them through the thing. And I realized that it wasn't that, what am I trying to say? I didn't always want to do that. I didn't always want to be in that situation. Sometimes, sure, sometimes it felt good to be there for those people, but for the people that are just like dumping on you, like I didn't have good boundaries with that. I didn't know how to stop that. And I realized like I could feel internally this energy of like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this, but I can't stop doing it, And yeah, eventually, like later in my life, I realized that I had to change that behavior and that I had to create like healthy energetic boundaries for myself. And like I said, I paid for this like a lot throughout my life in my health and well-being, and my health is not where it should be. And so I really encourage you, if you're listening to this and you are a younger person, the choices that you're making now are going to affect you later. And not only are they going to affect you later, but they are going to be like part of how you're going to leave this reality. When you pass from this physical existence into your other energetic reality, and your physical body starts letting go of like this experience, it has everything to do pretty much. I mean, unless you have an accident or something like that, but it has everything to do with how you treat your body. Like if you are eating, red meat your entire life, there are certain things that happen because of that, right? And conversely, if you're eating like healthy foods and things like that your entire life, then you're going to have a very different exit, from this reality. So, think about how you want to leave. I know this sounds really weird, but think about how you want to leave this reality. Like, because the things that you're doing right now are going to affect that. And are you taking care of yourself energetically? Are you taking care of yourself physically? What are you doing each day to assure that the likelihood of how you leave this reality is the way that you want to leave this reality? Because I'm telling you, we all leave at some point, and yeah, that freaks me the f out, but it's gonna happen, and I, especially, being, like I said, in my 50s, I'm already thinking about this because, my physical body is aging, and I realize, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever been pregnant before, if you're a female that has been pregnant before, but it's a really interesting phenomenon. Okay, so like you first get pregnant, and you're not thinking about anything at all, right? You're fine. You're living your life. You're enjoying the fact that you're pregnant. Yay, being pregnant and thinking about the baby. This is going to be so awesome, and blah blah blah, right? And then there's this weird point that hits towards the end of your pregnancy where you're like, oh shit, this baby has to come out. And it's not gonna feel good. And there is no way around it at all. Like, you're just gonna go through that process, and that's just how it's gonna be. And I hit that experience. I was just like, oh no. And this is the same thing that happens as you're aging, right? You hit this weird point of, I'm gonna go at some point. And that's just freaking weird. And how do I feel about that? And like, how am I gonna go? And yeah, granted, there are many ways that you go, but thinking about like how you take care of yourself, that is one of the main ways. And so yeah, it's really important. And so, additionally, like I said about, you know illness and disease as well. Like, these things are created by our low vibrational energy, by our essentially, and it's not just, a day's, low vibes, nothing like that at all. What it is it's like where you're lowering your baseline every day. It's not about your daily energy amount. It's about the overall baseline consistently getting lower and lower and lower and lower, so that when you're waking up each day, your baseline isn't enough to sustain you. It isn't enough that at that point you start getting subject to different sicknesses and illnesses and diseases and things like that because of that vibratory level. And so, and the, there's many ways to create illness. That's not all of it. This is just one of them. And it's not to say also that you are creating the illness. You're just creating the opportunity. You're creating the opportunity for these things to affect you in that way because of that low energy. So, like I said, there are many ways, and we can go into this in another episode, but just to understand that it is so important to take care of yourself and to create a stronger baseline and to do the things that are going to create that stronger baseline. Okay. So let's look at these things. All right. So let's look at each of them. All right. So we talked a little bit about high vitality foods, right? And those foods, you want to get as close to source as possible. And you want them to be like fresh off the plant if you can. That is the highest vibrational food that you can get. And like I said before, like the nutrients are great too. Don't get me wrong. Those are super important. You need to have varied nutrients and eat varied foods, and different forms of vegetables, different forms of fruits, different forms of grains, and things like that, because they all have different nutrients. And yes, this is important, but never forget the vitality of the things that you are consuming, okay? Because that is a huge thing. So, like, if you are eating a lot of processed foods and things like that, yeah, maybe you're getting nutrients, but you're never getting vitality. And that in the long run is going to affect you. I mean, think about two different people. Like if we were to visualize two different people, right? You have one person who is eating a lot of fresh foods close to the source, right? Right off the plant if they can. They're getting good exercise, they're breathing fresh air, they're spending time in the sun, getting the sun's rays, laying down in the earth, connecting with the earth, doing a lot of things that's creating strong, vital energy, right? And then you look at another person, let's say, and this person, spends a lot of time sitting down. Maybe they're indoors all the time. Maybe they're not exercising much. Maybe they're eating a lot of processed foods. And you can see that there's a huge difference in their vital energy, right? And that difference is going to affect them in big ways. So, yeah, really paying attention to like what you're eating, as well as, like I said in that example, like, soaking up, nature's energies, soaking up source energy. Hello, just the name alone tells you that that's energy, right? Source energy, that's the source. So yeah, soaking up that energy, breathing the fresh air, being in that sunshine. The sunshine has so much energy that we need, so much vital energy. And it also, helps our physical body in that it creates like vitamin D, and so the only way that we really get that vitamin D is either by supplementation or by spending time in the sun, and so we have that right outside that we can go and absorb those sun rays. What don't do it too much. Everything in balance and moderation, and that's the thing too. Like you don't want to become a total like health nut. You don't want to be like to the point where you're an extremist of these things, because then you're creating a lot of stress for your body, right? So find that perfect balance of all these things where every day what you're doing brings you joy, right? Because joy is that high vibrational energy, that frequency too. And like I said, in your interactions with people, sharing joy, sharing love, and expressing your own joy and your own love and vibrating at like those frequencies and energies, right? And, being mindful and responsible of your own energies, right? Like in the previous episode, the podcast episode where I talk about this, really being mindful of how, like the energy that you're putting out, right? Because you are vibrating all these energies out and you are sharing those energies with people. And so are you dumping out your toxic energies to people? Are you being mindful of your own energetic boundaries and how you should be treated to other people and the energies that you're putting out there? You're like, are you constantly putting toxic energy out into the universe, or what are you doing? So, being really thoughtful, about those things. And then, you know, do we have good energetic hygiene? And what does that mean? Just like we have physical hygiene, we also have energetic hygiene, and we're carrying, energies all day long, right? And how does that impact, our baseline of energy by the end of the day, right? Are we fatigued because of all the energy that we've been picking up all day long? And then when we go to bed at night, have we depleted a lot of our energy so that tomorrow when we wake up, are we waking up at a deficit? And so finding ways to increase our energy and being mindful of our energetic hygiene. What are we letting into ourselves? And it's not just about other people's energy and how other people's energy is affecting us, right? But it's our own energy too. Like, what are the things that we are thinking about, and how are we talking to ourselves? And what are the things that we're saying to ourselves? And those things are going to deplete our energy too. Like, if we're constantly putting ourselves down, and not treating ourselves with love and respect, those things are going to deplete us over the long run. So yeah, all these things matter. And so think about, like, what are, like, the overall, like, types of thoughts that you're having about yourself, and it's no big deal if you have the occasional, like, negative thought. Like, that's no big deal at all. But it's the overall thinking. What are you doing consistently? Are you consistently putting yourself down? Are you consistently thinking negatively? Are you consistently putting that negative energy out there or towards yourself? Because if you are, you're going to really need to think about that, because that negative energy is also affecting you. That negative energy you're putting into you, you're holding into you, you're holding into your body, right? And I did this through stress, right? And, like, I don't know if you're a high stress person, but you can probably feel it in your body, like in my gut, like even right now, I can feel, like, the tension in my gut, right? And that tension, what that is me constricting the flow of energy. So we, as energetic beings, and as energy flows, right? Energy moves. That's what it does. It's a vibration. It's a frequency. It's, by its nature, it needs to flow. It needs to move, right? And when I'm stressed, I am holding and squeezing that energy still, right? I am clenching my gut and I am holding that energy. And that has impacted me. 50 years of doing this, right? I have a lot of gut issues. And so it's interesting, like, where you hold that stress, where you hold and block that energy in your body is where those illnesses, those diseases, and those different things begin to manifest, because you're blocking the natural flow of that energy. And so, start thinking about, like, where do I feel that, in my body? Where do I feel that energy being stuck, and work on moving that energy and getting that energy flowing, because that's what that energy needs to do. That energy needs to flow in order for you to be a healthy being. And so finding healthy ways also to manage, the stress that might be holding and blocking that energy, so that your energy can begin to flow again. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, and like I said, having good, emotional habits. How are you expressing your emotions? Are you expressing them in healthy ways? Are you venting out, the energies that need to be vented out? How are you expressing your anger, your frustration? Those are the harder energies, to deal with. And are you expressing your joy? And like there was a time in my life that was really hard for me, and it was hard for me to express my joy because I was afraid that people in my life were going to take that joy from me. And so I didn't express my joy for a while. It took me a while to get back into that place of feeling like outwardly joyful. But you have to realize that each emotion is energy, and that emotion needs to be expressed in some way. Okay. But you also need to find healthy ways for certain emotions to be expressed, like anger. Anger is an emotion. There's not necessarily anything bad about anger, except for how we express our anger. Okay. Are we expressing our anger in healthy ways? Because if we're not expressing that anger at all, then that anger gets locked inside of us, right? And festers. Yes, and I bet some of you are aware of this. I have had this in my life too, where I don't express my anger. That anger gets locked inside of me and festers. And by the time that it finally expresses itself, it's in this giant explosion of energy that didn't need to be that way if we could have just expressed it in healthy ways early on. And so, yeah, just remember that your emotions want to be expressed. Otherwise, they get locked inside of us. And so finding those healthy ways to express those emotions and let that energy flow, right? Because we want our energy to flow. Okay. And, so all these things are so important with like creating that healthy body, mind, and spirit, right? And taking care of each of those things, taking care of the body, the mind, and the spirit by paying attention to our own vital energy and how we are managing our vital energy. So I hope this makes sense to you. I hope that you understand what I'm talking about here and that you really start taking this to heart, okay? Because you are the only one that is responsible for these things. Like nobody else is going to be doing this for you, and you really start learning this as you get to my age and you're like, man, I wish that, somebody had told me these things. I wish that somebody had explained to me that I'm the one that's responsible for these things. And that if I don't make these choices now, that they're going to impact me down the road, right? That all my choices now are going to affect me later. And so what am I going to do? And start making those choices, whether or not it's meditating to bring in that vital energy, whether it's eating better foods that have more vitality, whether or not it's bringing that vital energy in from nature, from the sun, from source, whether or not it's creating healthy communications and relationships with people, or making sure that your own self-talk and your own thoughts are healthy and balanced. It's all of these things so that you are creating that stronger vital energy. You're starting off with a higher baseline of energy, and then really thinking about your energy as like that energetic bank throughout the day, right? So how much, energy are you giving out? And how much vital energy are you taking back and putting into your stores, right? and really making sure that by the end of the day that you are not super depleted. Okay, you don't, and if you are once in a while, no big deal, right? That happens because sometimes we just have an exhausting day, right? But this is about like consistency. Like, are you consistently going to bed at night exhausted? And are you consistently waking up in the morning still exhausted because now your baseline is getting lower and lower and lower? So, finding the things to do throughout the day that's going to raise your baseline, okay? And start doing those things. Start raising your baseline, start raising that frequency so that you can live in this physical body for as long as you possibly can, right? And so that also, when you leave this physical body, it is in the best possible scenario that you can get away with, right? And so, yeah, I hope that this makes sense to you, and I hope that you have gained something from listening to this, and I hope that today you start making a few different choices. So I encourage you, I dare you even to start making some different choices that are going to lead towards you having more vital energy every day. And so, what are those things that you want to do that are going to start making you feel really good? What are the things that are going to start bringing more joy into your life? What are the things that are going to raise your vital energy? What are the things that are going to nourish you? And I want you to start doing those things today. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you have enjoyed this, if this has meant something to you, if this has helped you at all, I would love it if you would please share this. Thank you so very much.